I first met Jeni Busta as a counselor at a camp for kids with congenital heart disease. At the time, I was recovering from a heart attack and open-heart surgery myself. Jeni was one of the oldest living survivors of an extremely rare condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. She only has half a heart. Weeks after that year's session, my cousin Tony and his wife Tawny brought their daughter Kaelyn into the world with the same condition that Jeni has. They were told Kaelyn wouldn't live very long, if at all. I wanted them to meet Jeni and hear about her faith, courage, and how she beat the odds. This is a story of journeys through life and a journey across the country to bring Jeni and Kaelyn together. This is a story of journeys beginning.
What are you talking about?
There's a 25% chance of her surviving the pregnancy.
Don't ever say that again.
You would be lucky if she has Down syndrome.
Just hold her in your arms until she dies.
I just didn't want to believe it.
Why, God?
She's gonna be okay. Even in me, she couldn't be safe.
We learned from them, but none of them made it.
All I could do was hug her and cry with her.
You can't protect them.
I can't fix this.
I want you to do everything you possibly can do for my daughter.
She collapsed and the ambulance came and she was gone.
My daughter was alive. I wanted to hurt that doctor.
You'll die anyway. There's no reason for you to live.
My love goes with you every step of the way.
This can't be, he can't be gone.
I would suggest that you terminate the pregnancy.
There's a chance that I can live.
Why us?
God, how could you allow this to happen?
I was devastated in the beginning. I was in the doctor's office when we found out. He heard an irregularity.
He said, I think you should have a further diagnosis. Without that, she would have been born, we would have taken her home, and as I understand it, she would have turned blue, and who knows.
The doctor had said that there was the heart didn't sound quite right, like there was something quite wrong, but he didn't know what it was.
But the doctor that diagnosed Jeni was Dr. Roberta Williams. I was lying on the table, of course, and the other technician was doing the ultrasound, and she walks in.
The first time I looked at the fetal echocardiogram, it was obvious what she had. We had seen, unfortunately, so many of these infants who were born, who were diagnosed, and there really wasn't anything good that we could offer the families for that.
We didn't know what it was at that time. They just knew that she only had half a heart.
They said, terminate, just hold her in your arms until she dies, or the 3 operations. And we said, we jumped at it practically. I mean, I said, there's no other choice.
But then that's the time that they say you trust in the Lord. Because if he was going to take her, then so be it. And you have to live with those things.
And they said there isn't much hope. There's maybe 50-50 chance, if that. But I blocked it all out. And I said, I believe in miracles. And she's going to be our pioneer woman. So.
Hypoplastic left heart is when the left side of the heart just doesn't develop. In the normal situation, you have 2 sides, a right side that pumps blood to the lungs, the left side that pumps blood to the body. But in hypoplastic left heart, this whole left side has not developed, so that the right side of the heart has to do all the work of pumping blood both to the lungs and the body. A few years before she was born, there literally was nothing that people could do except to try to console the families.
I want you to do everything you possibly can do for my daughter. And whatever that is, we will be very thankful for it.
We really started to try various techniques that eventually resulted in the Norwood procedure. Now, the first surgical operation takes this one big blood vessel that we've got that was going to the lungs and sews it together with a tiny little blood vessel that goes to the body. So you got one big vessel and use the whole thing to get blood to the body. So in effect, this one right ventricle that you've got has to do the entire job of pumping blood to the body.
He said this is still experimental in a sense. We don't know whether we can do anything or not, but he said we've done 11 of them. And he says the good part about it is that we learned from them, but none of them made it. And when she was born, she looked beautiful, very healthy little girl, and you wouldn't have known that she had a heart problem at all. In all honesty, they hadn't done any surgeries on newborns, because you're talking about doing a heart that's about like a little walnut. They can't anesthetize them because they're too little. There aren't drugs that you can reduce enough for a newborn, so they don't give them anything. Not when you're going to open up the chest and the heart.
They wouldn't let us even touch her in the beginning because of all the wires. It's really hard not to be able to hold your baby. You want to hold them so bad. Everybody else on the floor with you, like all the mothers are having their babies, and all the nurses are bringing their babies to them. And I could have sworn I heard Jenny's cry in the nursery. I hear her.
She wasn't even expected to live, okay? With her initial surgery, she came back after 13 days. She came home from the hospital.
Jenny came home with her incision open so she could heal from the inside out.
She was cut open from there all the way to her belly button. Wide open, you could see the wires where they had cut through all the ribs.
They said that, I'd have to watch it really carefully, and when I'm changing her bandages, that I'd have to do them some every 2 hours, some every 1 hour.
So not only did you have to change diapers, you had to change bandages.
Yeah, I'll say.
Bandages and diapers.
Bandages and diapers. She would say, "Mom, I want you to take me to the hospital so I'll feel better." She'd crawl over to the drawer where I kept my stethoscope, and she'd drag it across the floor, and she'd put it on me, put the stethoscope on me. My heart hurt, Mommy, heart hurt. When I went to the doctors, they said, "How do you know that she has a high heart rate?" I said, "She tells me. She's a baby. How can she tell you?" I said, "She shows me. She goes and gets a stethoscope, for heaven's sake."
I didn't know what her adult life would be like because there really had not been any patients who had survived into adult life.
Even though she couldn't run down the hill or run up the hill or run with friends at school and do all the things that the kids wanted her to do, she wasn't able to do all that. Sometimes it was hard on her because they would tease her and come home crying to me, and I just hold her in my arms and told her, "Jenny, you don't need those kind of people."
We started to hear about stuff as soon as she became known to her classmates and to all the other kids that were going to school, the teasing that went on.
School was difficult for Jenny. Everyone knew that she had, they didn't know what it was, but they knew she had some sort of medical issue that kept her from being able to be as physical as all of us. I remember for show and tell, she brought in her x-ray that showed the wiring that it took to bring her chest back clipped together. And she had this wonderful scar. And whenever I came over when I was little to come and play at her pool, and I remember, she had the scar, but it was just Jenny. It's really like, it's something that represents how strong she is, really, and as far as I'm concerned.
One of the girls knew that she had the scar and everything and asked her, and she said, "Well, I had heart surgery," and they'd say, "Well, you don't want to be friends with her. She could be dead tomorrow."
It's very unfair, and kids can be cruel. Kids can be very mean.
And they called on the phone, and 2 or 3 of them got on the phone, and they were calling her all kinds of names.
You just don't need those kind of people, honey. And we'll find you somebody that loves you, don't worry.
Camp del Corazon was a major player. For her to become even more comfortable with her scar, that was one thing she got teased about in school. So now she could relate to others with that scar.
The first time I met Jeni Sorensen, I think it was when she was probably about 7 or 8, and she was one of the first campers that ever came to camp. Camp del Corazon is a summer camp that I started with a partner 17 years ago. In our medical practice, we were doing amazing things to make children feel better, do better, better surgeries, better medicines, everything that they could do to help children survive their heart disease. There was a part of their heart disease that we were missing, and that was the scar on the inside of their heart. Growing up with having to have had so many operations and so much hospitalizations and fears and limitations. So that first year we had 49 campers and a handful of friends, and we got on a boat. We had no idea what we were doing. Thank God we all got home safe. Jeni had lots of friends at camp. There was particularly this group of 5 or 6 of them, and they called themselves the Originals. And they would be in the same cabin every year for year after year, and they got to know each other very well, and they saw each other outside of camp, and they became long-term friends. They were all about doing things together and bonding and friendship. Like, it was a real quality friendship that they got when they were together.
And Nick came along.
Nick is everything that she deserves. He's a great husband. He's completely supportive.
His father-in-law, well, he calls me Dad.
I have to say Nicky,
son.
Nicky.
That's right.
I first got to know Jeni over the internet when we were both 14 years old. I had grown up never knowing that there was even such a thing as congenital heart disease. And then going from that to meeting somebody who is, as far as we know right now, one of the 10 oldest on the planet with hypoplastic left heart, it was pretty interesting just seeing how huge our differences were health-wise. I knew about her pacemaker very early on, but you could easily forget about it until it would misfire, or she would go into atrial flutter. And so then we'd have to sit down, I'd have to, just stay with her, hold her hands, let her catch her breath. Back in 2007, I did Ironman Arizona. Jeni told me after I signed up that she was a little bit jealous that she couldn't do it, that she doesn't know what it's like to cross the finish line and have people cheering for her. And so when she told me that, I remembered how you get to cross the finish line with somebody, and I told her, well, that's why I'm gonna do it then. That's my inspiration. I'm gonna train hard so that I can cross the finish line, but not so much that I can cross it, it's so that she could cross it with me. For every finisher, they hold the finishing tape, so you get to break the tape when you cross the finish line. Well, I didn't tell Jeni this until afterwards, probably about a month afterwards, but when we got close, we were side by side, but when we got to the finish line, I hesitated so that I wasn't the one to break the tape. She was.
One of the things that I thought was really cool about the wedding was the fact that some of her old doctors were there.
She was one of the most beautiful brides I'd ever seen. When she walked down that aisle, it was the most amazing feeling. I was there with several of my colleagues, other cardiologists and nurses and social workers that had worked with Jeni and her family through the years. There was not a dry eye in the church.
And it was really cool because it had a little heart on it. Like the way that the dress was shaped, and at the back of it looked like a heart.
I'm a tough person. I was sniveling like everyone else.
Well, the road ahead for Jeni is the road of the unknown.
She's talked about dying, and she doesn't really seem too afraid. But the thought of it for me is upsetting. Like, I don't know what I would do without her.
It comes up really once every few months or so when we hear about somebody who, in the heart community, who didn't make it. There are times when, I get really weak and I tell her that she's my best friend and I can't imagine life without her, seeing her go, waking up and not having her there next to me. we really need to make the most of what God has given us on this earth, because she could go home at any time.
Her real heart is so large that it encompasses all the children that she knows that have congenital heart disease and their families.
She's been instrumental in banding those families together, going down and being there as a role model for their children and seeing that she survived and that they can survive. And that's her mission, and that is her story that she tells. Look, if I can do it, you can do it.
I said, Jeni, what's wrong? Oh boy, the tears just poured. And she came to me, and I just held her, and she sobbed and cried like she was heartbroken. I said, what has happened? And I thought, there's something with Nick, you think of all these things. And she said, that little baby that I just went to see? He died. She said, I feel guilty. I said, guilty? Why do you feel guilty? She said, because I'm still living and he died.
You said you have GPS in your phone. I have the address.
It's very dark.
Can't tell I don't have makeup Right now we are on a road trip to Colorado, and we're meeting Kaelyn, and I'm very excited.
It's going to take us how long to get out to Colorado?
3 days. 187 to Las Vegas. Awesome. We met when we were 14, online, in a chat room. He also saw on my profile that I was born with half a heart, but he just thought, oh, that's really sweet, like you're waiting for your other half. And I'm like, no, exactly. Actually, I was actually born with half a heart. And he's like, no, you weren't. So I had to explain to him through 2 surgeries and a pacemaker and all that stuff that, yeah, you can actually live with half a heart. It's difficult, but it's doable. He knelt down on one knee and he says, Jennifer Ellen Sorensen, will you marry me? I'd say about, 30 seconds go by, and I help him up. I kiss him on the cheek. And he's like, well, he's kind of sweating it out because I still haven't answered him yet. And I go, well, duh. Of course I'll marry you. I love you. So it wasn't on like the top, romantic list of the year, but they said that being pregnant and giving birth would be a very hard thing for my body to endure, and it's wise not to even try or do any of that. Nick and I made the decision that we want to, if at all possible, adopt a child with congenital heart disease, just because when our little boy or little girl says, you don't understand what I'm saying. Actually, yes I do. And I remember as a little girl, as young as like 5 years old, just kneeling down and praying to God and asking him for, what a 5-year-old dreams of doing, 10 million things. I want to do this and that, you know. I wanted to be a missionary, I wanted to be a nurse, and I wanted to, you know, it was always something to help people, you know. I wanted to write a book, I wanted to, you know. And I said, but God, if I can't have any of these other things, please make it so I find a man to love me for who I am, for everything I am, heart condition, everything, and please make it so I can have kids. When Nick came along, I don't know, God just, he's like, okay, you can breathe, everything's gonna be okay. You know, he's it. Welcome to Utah. I used to think about dying every day. It used to scare me a lot. The thought of leaving Nick and all the ones that I love still scares me. But I know I'm gonna be in a better place. I'll have a whole heart. There'll be no more tears, no more suffering. I still get scared once in a while. But now when I get scared, I just start praying, and it makes me feel better. I pray that it's God's will that, you know, Nick and I live a long and happy life together. But I also pray that if one of us leaves, we'll be ready, you know, to handle it the best way we can, I guess.
Ready for this?
Yes. Do you want to take that one way through Zion?
Do you remember? Still
Where's the paper? Where's the paper?
I don't know. Where'd you put it?
Well, that's aggravating.
Well, you had it.
I know, but it was here.
Enter highway on the right, north, I-15 north.
Say goodbye. I only want what you want for you. I think it's only fair, showing you I care. And in time, remembering my forever with you, cherishing the part still inside my heart. Since you're gone, it only hurts when I breathe. It only hurts when I'm breathing. I'm so glad that you're gone. Now I can live on. It only hurts when I breathe. It only hurts when I breathe.
See you later.
Daviana, Paul, Brandon, Mark, and a few others. Jennifer. She just was in her bathroom, I think, just getting ready to go somewhere, and then she collapsed and the ambulance came and she was gone before. I don't know if it was cardiac arrest, I don't know. And it's hard because I want to know why, but I don't want to ask her mom because I know it's like it still happened yesterday to her. Another thing about Daviana's death was I had just gone to the hospital for a heart checkup, and she was in the hospital. We heard that she was in the hospital, and I said, oh, I have to go say hi. I want to go say hi, you know. And she was going home that day, and she was so happy that she was going home that day, and we went to her room for a few minutes and just chatted, and I'll always cherish that because that was the last time I saw her. It It was right before Nick and I got married, and he had just gotten okay from the doctor that he could fly down and surprise me for my wedding. He had told me that Pa passed away, and I said, no, this can't be, no, I don't, he can't be gone.
What if you could speak at your own funeral? What would you say about yourself?
For one, anyone who is wearing black, I kick him out.
I'm driving down the highway of the saints. I'm keeping in mind a friend of mine who issue no complaints. When strength had all but left her and hope had become faint, now I'm driving down the highway of the saints.
They have cut me open 6 times.
Since you've been born, they cut you open 6 times?
Yes. I have a long scar from the bottom of my neck, and it goes all the way down to my belly button.
Are you embarrassed about the marks on your body?
The only time that I remember being ashamed of my scars is when I got made fun of by kids would make fun of me because of my scars. It was a lot more painful going through that than getting cut open, because getting made fun of always, it sticks with you. It's always, those memories are always there. As hard as I try to forget them, they're always there.
Just a little bit. Where are we going? How cold is it? Which way? All right, let's get in the car. Hurry!
I was known as the sick girl with the heart problem. Half-hearted, alien. In kindergarten, around age 4 or 5, this kid punched me in the stomach. And he's, obviously it hurt. I started crying, and he said, well, I just want to see if you would break open because of your scar being there. In 1st grade, there was a fire drill going on. I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and these 2 girls come up to me and they're like, why don't you just stay in here, Jenny? You'll die anyway. There's no reason for you to live. You'll never make it anywhere in life. A few years later, my mom and I were at a cardiologist appointment, and my cardiologist says that there's a camp being formed for children with congenital heart defects. So from going, 6 years old, praying to God to take my life. And then 9 years old, going to this camp on an island, Kaelyn Island, and having kids run around you with scars on their chests. And they have medicines to take, and they have to have doctor's appointments and open heart surgeries. And here I thought I was all by myself. I never knew. I can't even describe that feeling the first time. And like, I'm not alone, and I can do this. And then the counselors walking around with scars on their chest saying, if I can do it, you can do it. Just knowing that there is a chance that I can live, and live to adult life.
What are some things you would warn Kaelyn that you weren't warned about?
People are going to treat you different. People have been scared to touch me. They've been scared to get close to me. They're scared of me dying. And one time I got invited to this sleepover.
How you feel?
Tired. Don't freak out. It was like a swim party and a sleepover. The mom called my mom back just to uninvite me because she said, I'm scared that she's gonna die in the middle of the night or something.
If everything stopped today, would you and I be okay? Yeah. If everything was left behind, would you be trying to find a better way? The road ahead could disappear, and you and I would be left here. Although we've been there before, the end of the tunnel is just
We are going to Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, and we are meeting Mike and Ruthie tonight. And we're staying at their house because they're so kind in opening their home.
Who are they?
And they are Tawny's parents, so Kaelyn's grandparents.
You okay?
Gosh. Thank you so much. Good to have you guys. Hi. That's how we knew you guys.
Yes, it was. Had a great, we had a heck of a drive. Jenny went and played in the snow for a little bit and got all wet.
I have a pacemaker.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the Norwood, I went home just at 13 and so I had bradycardia and supraventricular tachycardia. And most of the time it was high heart rates. It would go as high as 300 beats. So I was one of the first children to ever get a pacemaker.
Wow.
At 3 years old. And it's located right here. And so my
So you didn't have the arrhythmias until after.
So
Yes.
it really does.
Yeah.
As soon as I found out about you, I thought, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're really encouraged. Because I mean, it gives us a really hope and a glimpse of what her future could look like.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited. I'm like gonna cry. Okay.
All right, here we go.
All right. Let's check that out.
I feel
Yes, you are. Jenny's my new heart buddy. Sweet girl.
Good support for her, you know? And what can we do throughout her? Like, part of me. When I was pregnant with her, after we found out about what she was going to go through, we named her Kaelyn because it means victorious. And we thought, well, you need a strong name to go with your strong personality because we knew she was already going to be a handful. We didn't realize how many questions we would have for you. Like, we knew you were out there, but it's like you don't understand what you need to ask until you start facing these situations, you know? And I don't know, I guess maybe it's the optimist in me just kept thinking, it'll be fine, we'll just deal with that when we come to it, and she'll be a normal kid, it'll all be okay, you know. But there's some facts that I have to face, and you know, when it gets rough, then I definitely know where I can ask questions.
When you know, when people say, well, do you live a normal life, you know, because that's what their number one concern. Normal, you know, if my life was normal, and you know, I wouldn't be as grateful. I wouldn't be as appreciative of everything. You know, I find myself praying for, you know, thanking God for my hands and my feet and my eyes. And I look around and I see all these people with disabilities. And, you know, at least I have legs. I just have a heart problem.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Yeah.
I never would wish this on anybody, ever. But at the same time, I've never seen God move so much or teach us so much. I've never prayed so much in my life. You mentioned you're not sure how long she'll be here. But one of the lessons I learned personally, which I hope never to have to find out firsthand, but the lesson was if God chooses to take her, I got to be all right with it. And not turn my back on him for taking her, or curse him for taking her, or
it's so hard.
Not even for stop thanking him for her. And there's been some hard lessons I've learned in my life that God's taught me some things, and that's one of the hardest.
Do you mind? Can I see her scar?
No, I don't mind at all.
Scar? Can I just see that beautiful scar?
That's all we're gonna do.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! Look. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh, she thinks we're gonna do something.
Yeah,
I know. Look at the lip.
No, we're not gonna do anything. Hi, honey.
Oh. And then she has her. So your scar is not bad at all.
No. And then it goes all the way down, and it goes to here.
Okay. Down here.
And half of the top half is my open heart. And then this part, this is where my pacemaker is. If you want, you can feel it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what this whole thing was to put in the pacemaker.
So like from here to here.
And were these chest tubes?
Yeah, chest tubes. Got it all.
You're so used to just whatever.
I used to walk up to people when I was like a toddler, like, I have half a heart. See? I can't do that now, but.
Tani's OBGYN walked in, and we had never seen this kind of look on his face before. And his first words were, this is bad.
The kids went to their ultrasound appointment. We were actually waiting for a phone call, and we didn't get a call.
What are you talking about?
We just saw the ultrasound.
We just saw
she
her.
looked great.
She looks great.
Yeah.
It's a girl. We're so happy.
I just didn't want to believe it.
The odds he gave her weren't very good.
You would be lucky if she has Down syndrome. We're not just looking at the heart, we're looking at the brain. There are pieces missing, there are pieces in the wrong spot. Some are malformed, major vessel missing. You know, he thought it was trisomy 18, and plus you have this heart issue, so I would suggest that you terminate the pregnancy.
You know, they started out with, well, it's a girl. Of course, we were all excited about that. And then Tony said, but you know, there are some problems.
He basically said there's a 99.5% chance of that happening, of it being fatal as well.
All I could do was hug her and cry with her.
If she survives the pregnancy, there's a 25% chance of her surviving the pregnancy. She might live a couple days, maybe up to a couple years. And you'd be lucky if it's Down syndrome, but it's most likely a more fatal chromosome abnormality.
From that point on, at that one appointment, he had mentioned 4 options as far as what to do about it. Terminate, which we, with out of breath, said don't ever say that again. And I think I told the doctor that specifically, don't ever say that again. We're not doing that. Do nothing, let her be born, and basically make her comfortable until she passes. Which that was not an option either. I'm not going to watch my daughter die at a few days old. Heart transplant was the third one, which carries its own risks. Waiting for a heart can be up to 4 to 6 months. Infant hearts are not as readily available. There's rejection issues, there's constant lifelong drugs, or was the 3-stage procedure, which required open heart surgeries when she was days old.
We asked him, can this be reversed? Can the heart grow back? Can her brain finish growing, or get rid of those cysts, or can those pieces that are missing or in the wrong place, can they go back? And he said, at this point, we're at 20 weeks, no, they're not going to go back.
And me being the dad, fixer, I fix stuff, I take care of my family as best as I can. I can't fix this. I can't do it.
It's like you can't protect them. And I wanted to just protect her, to keep her safe in there. And it was hard knowing that even in me, she couldn't be safe.
Why us? I thought you could chalk it up to someone they're going through something like this. The standard, we're good people. Why do we get this? Why are we having this?
God, how could you allow this to happen to us this many times, you know? To lose 2 and then think we're losing another and think we're losing another, you know?
Why God? And I remember being angry on the way home. Angry with God. Why are you doing this? I don't understand.
I think he was trying to be encouraging, but he told her, you know, even though this is a failed pregnancy, there's no reason why you can't conceive again and have a normal baby.
That was another point at which I felt the urge to fight. This is not a failed pregnancy. I know it's not a failed pregnancy. She's thriving, she's growing, she's big, she's moving. I saw all of her other parts in there. She has 10 fingers and 10 toes, and it's not a failed pregnancy.
My daughter was alive in my wife.
No matter what certificate is on the wall or what amount of education, who are you to say that this pregnancy is a failure?
The why turned into, okay, he trusts us with this. He trusts us with one miscarriage. He trusts us with the second miscarriage. He trusts us with a difficult pregnancy. And now he trusts us with a really, really difficult pregnancy that could turn into us losing another baby. And it became more of a, I want to say a prideful thing, like, okay, he thinks we can do this, we can do this.
So there it was, we're left with, okay, we have a daughter with these major issues, and
no explanation
no
for
explanation
it.
Why.
It's all right.
That's okay. We got to praying.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
People came out of the woodwork to pray for us and pray for Kaelyn.
The extent it's gone, I don't think we know fully, but we've heard from, to other parts of the country, to even England, people praying for our daughter.
From LA to Tennessee, all the way out to Paris, France. I mean.
And apparently this principal at the school told my friend that the next time we go in for ultrasound, everything would be fine in her brain. Her brain would be perfect, the cyst would be gone, and God told her all of this to tell us. And I just kind of smiled because earlier that week, my friend's mom had said the same thing.
Three weeks later?
2 to 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, new ultrasound, and her brain was fine. Perfect. In the ultrasound, he went over the brain and then skipped right to the heart and almost didn't say anything. I was like, I asked him, can you go back to that? Go back there one more time. And he went back to the brain and went over the whole thing. I'm like, so how's it look? He's like,
oh, everything looks
everything's
great.
fine.
Let's look at the heart.
Let's look at the heart.
Like, what?
You just went over it.
Yeah.
Like right in front of my face was a miracle.
Yeah.
I never kept myself away.
If God thinks that we can handle this, then we can handle this. If He's given us these trials to go through, then, and to think that we're not going to turn our backs on Him, that's great. That's awesome that He thinks that highly of us, So whether we have hours with her, whether we have years with her, we're going to enjoy that, and we're going to find the purpose in that.
And meeting Jeni has been a great, which we call her Aunt Jeni now. Definitely, she's a member of our family.
We weren't thinking past next week, let alone years from now. Here's a grown woman, 20, 25 years old, that's made it through all of this. There are chances for Kaelyn. She gives us a lot of hope for the future, and that's priceless.
She's somebody who's going to be in our lives for a long time, and I'm hoping that she and Kaelyn will have a bond.
She has a big heart. Even though it's only half, she still has a big heart.
So this is my story, an emotional part of it. It's called Happy with Half a Heart. 25 years ago, on June 25th, 1985, I was born with a congenital heart disease called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which means I have an underdeveloped left side of the heart. In other words, I was born with half a heart. I feel blessed. Having my heart disease, all the horrible things I faced have helped to mold me into the person I am today. I always thought of my heart disease as a blessing from God, instead of feeling sorry for myself and being depressed. I know that I am blessed by God to have such a wonderful understanding of the beauty of life. It has given me the desire to live every single day as if it was my last. Anyways. Stay strong, okay?
Without you near, I disappear, I come undone, 'cause you are the one, you won't forsake me, don't wanna break me, so please change me. They can't tear us apart. Forever in my heart. That's where you'll be. You burn inside of me.
She's gonna be okay.
How about you?
Am I gonna be okay?
Your skin and your eyes shatter my sky. I watch you shine against the binding of time. I wish you'd take me, but don't wanna wake me. So please change me. You're everything that I need. You're the reason I breathe. You burn inside of me. You're every face that I see. You're the reason I dream. Might give you all of me.
Nick and Jeni still visit HLHS families and volunteer for Camp Del Corazon. Jeni still believes Nick is a gift from God. Kaelyn DeYoung celebrated her first birthday September 19, 2011, a month before I could finish this documentary.
You're the light, making me strong.